Google pledges nearly $30 million to fight fake news and misinformation online. This comes as big tech companies face scrutiny for alleged roles they played in spreading misinformation. YouTube is rolling out new measures too. It may allow creators to hide the number of dislikes on their videos. This comes after YouTube removed thousands of dislikes from videos out of the White House. Trump's signature large rallies could be making a comeback. Trump touched on that and more in his interview with daughter-in-law Lara Trump. And speaking of Trump's legacy, a House GOP memo calls for the party to build on Trump's gift. Tune into Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. There seems to be a push to fight fake news and misinformation online. Google just announced they are pledging nearly $30 million to help in the fight against misinformation online. The tech giant announced on Wednesday the money will go to the newly formed European Media and Information Fund, which will offer grants to other organizations. According to the website, the fund's goal is to strengthen media literacy skills, fact checkers, and further research into ways to fight misinformation online. Funding will be for organizations in European countries. Big tech companies have been under close scrutiny for their alleged role in spreading misinformation online. Google hopes the other organizations will follow suit and also contribute to the fund. President of Google in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, Matt Britton, said in a statement, while navigating the uncertainty and challenges of the last year, it has proven more important than ever for people to access accurate information and sort facts from fiction. Adding independent committees made up of industry experts will select the winning ideas, and Google won't be involved in any decision-making related to the fund. The fund will be in operation for 5 years. This comes amid a spike in alleged disinformation online around the presidential election and the pandemic. And another tech giant, YouTube, is rolling out new measures. It may allow creators to hide the number of dislikes on their videos. YouTube says it's testing the feature because of feedback from creators. The company announced on Twitter, in response to creator feedback around well-being and targeted dislike campaigns, we are testing a few new designs that don't show the public dislike count. Adding, if you are part of this small experiment, you might spot one of these designs in the coming weeks. YouTube also announced on a Google support page, viewer feedback has always been and will continue to be an important part of YouTube. But we've heard from creators that the public dislike counts can impact their well-being and may motivate a targeted campaign of dislikes on creators' video. So we are testing designs that don't include the visible like or dislike count in an effort to balance improving the creator experience, while still making sure viewer feedback is accounted for and shared with the creator. Content uploaders can still check the number of likes and dislikes on their own portal. Some ask, what's the point of it if they can still see it? YouTube says this is to protect content creators from negative emotions that come from the number of dislikes. A majority of responses to the Twitter announcement and on YouTube's support page disapprove of the idea. Some comments suggest it's a political move. Recent videos coming out of the White House amass a large number of dislikes on the platform. YouTube soon started reducing the number. Users showed thousands of dislikes disappearing from White House videos and posted before and after screenshots of the vanishing dislikes. YouTube told the Epoch Times it removes engagements it considers spam, but did not explain how they are told apart. YouTube owner Google has long faced accusations of political bias. The company maintains that their products are politically neutral. Whistleblowers and leaked internal documents show otherwise. Researcher Robert Epstein assembled a team of 700 voters to monitor messages from Google ahead of the 2020 election. They examined search results, suggestions, reminders, and news feeds leading up to the election. Epstein says previous voting behavior changed the users' results. He believes Google influenced and shifted millions of votes in the last election. Now, let's turn to another tech giant, Facebook. The social media giant removed an interview between Lara Trump and Donald Trump, citing rules, quote, content posted on Facebook and Instagram in the voice of President Trump is not currently allowed. Lara posted on her Instagram account an email that reads, further content posted in the voice of Donald Trump will be removed and result in additional limitations on the accounts. This guidance applies to all campaign accounts and pages, including Team Trump, other campaign messaging vehicles on our platforms, and former surrogates. Lara encouraged people to watch the interview on Tuesday night with an Instagram post. The interview was eventually posted to Lara Trump's Facebook page, but was later taken down. Lara Trump posted on Instagram saying, "And just like that, we are one step closer to Orwell's 1984. Wow." Eric Trump also posted on Instagram, sharing a copy of an email he received from a Facebook employee. He wrote, "This is so horrible. What is our country becoming?" Lara Trump has since issued a warning, saying on Fox News, "I know that people that dislike Donald Trump might celebrate this and think, well, this is great. We don't want to hear from him anyway. Every American should be outraged by this because today it's Donald Trump. Tomorrow it could be you." She went on to say this kind of censorship is something that happens in communist countries, adding, "The message here is they want to erase Donald Trump." Lara continued by saying they want you to forget he ever existed. They don't want you to see him. They don't want you to hear from him. Look away, move on, shut up, and go on about your lives. Forget Donald Trump existed. This is really scary stuff. Big tech platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and others all suspended then-President Trump, accusing him of inciting violence at the January 6th Capitol breach. So what was in the interview that Facebook removed? During the 18-minute interview, Trump hinted at running again in 2024. Trump told Lara, "We love our country, this country. We all owe a lot to our country, but now we have to help our country. And we were there. We were so good. What we did with Iran, what we did with China." The former commander-in-chief said, "We were all set to do some great things. And then you see what's going on right now." Trump also touched on President Joe Biden's policies and the incident where he fell several times on the stairs to Air Force One. Trump said during his presidency, he was not afforded the same media coverage and suspected that if the same thing had happened to him, he would have been criticized. He says it was not on the evening news. It got almost no coverage. He added, saying, "It is a sad situation because we don't have freedom of the press anymore." The 45th president said in late 2020 the media entered a new phase, and that certain news outlets are now refusing to cover potentially damaging information about a political candidate. And Trump's signature large rallies could be coming back. Trump told his daughter-in-law Lara on her TV show that he and his team are thinking of holding a rally soon. He said he wants to let people know there is hope for the future. He did not elaborate on a possible date. The former president explained that the turnout at his rallies let him know whether or not he would win that state during the election. Trump also spoke about Biden, saying he's done things he never spoke about before coming into office. Trump commented that Biden's policies have been more radical than those of Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders. And Trump recently launched his own website. It's dedicated to preserving the legacy of his administration and his activism since leaving office. The webpage says that the office of Donald J. Trump will continue to advance the America First agenda. The website's About page celebrates the former president's legacy on key policy issues. It mentions his handling of the virus pandemic, securing the southern border, and the peace deals in the Middle East. The 45office.com website was registered a week before Trump departed the White House, but the page remained blank until Monday. DonaldJTrump.com was also revamped. The two sites marked Trump's first digital footprints after social media giants banned him. The former president is now working on a social media platform of his own. And speaking of Trump's legacy, the leader of the House Republican Study Committee, or RSC, Representative Jim Banks, issued a memo calling for the party to build on Trump's gift. Banks said in the memo, quote, "President Trump gave the Republican Party a political gift. We are now the party supported by most working-class voters." Banks outlined his strategy for taking back the majority in the House for 2022 and the future by solidifying the GOP as the party for the working class. In 2020, Republicans captured 13 seats in the House, taking their total to 213 and narrowing the leading Democrats' hold at 222. The strategy the GOP used in 2020, which focused on safety and security in the wake of the Defund the Police campaign, is similar to what Banks is suggesting for 2022. Banks says Trump won the presidency in 2016 by winning over the working-class voters. He notes Trump got more votes from mechanics, small business owners, and custodians, contrasting that with the college professors, bankers, and marketing professionals who voted for Biden. Speaking of financial institutions, banks wrote in 2020 Wall Street donated 4 times more to Joe Biden than Donald Trump. President Trump didn't just shift each party's role, he caused a paradigm reversal. Bank says the party should unite around the new coalition of the working class and build on it for the midterm elections. He suggests focusing on policies that working class voters have shown they care about, including illegal immigration, trade with China, anti-wokeness, and big tech censorship. Bank said the GOP should highlight the Biden immigration policies that support illegal immigration and contrast that to Trump policies, which support legal immigration and public safety and security. Next, Bank says to contrast trade and bringing jobs back to the United States. He writes the GOP must continue to oppose the Chinese Communist Party's predatory trade practices and support for trade policies that promote American industry and create American jobs. He said the Republican Party should continue Trump's hardline stance on the Chinese Communist Party and make it clear their opposition to China is a result of their support for working families. Next, Bank said that Republicans should highlight how wokeness and identity politics aren't pro-Hispanic, pro-African American, or pro-LGBTQ. They're anti-American, anti-women, and most of all, anti-working class. He said the party should continue to oppose defunding the police efforts and the Democrats' Equality Act. Banks also suggests showing voters how virus lockdowns hurt the economy and how the GOP opposed lockdowns because they would hurt small businesses. He also pointed out that Democrats supported the lockdowns because their donors profited. 2 more policies Banks thinks will win over voters are exposing big tech censorship and upholding the right to free speech. He also suggested candidates pour more effort into getting individual and digital donations, and contrast that to big dollar donations that Democrats get from liberal PACs. Banks urges GOP candidates to hold working-class roundtables to hear what their constituents want and establish a working-class task force, which would be tasked with producing a report on GOP-endorsed policies that protect American jobs, promote working-class values, and working-class families. He ends by stating, the Republican Party's electorate grew over the past 5 years because President Trump drew working-class voters in, and Democrat elitism drove them away. Democrats will keep alienated working-class voters because that's what their donors demand. And Republicans should welcome them with open arms by fully embracing an agenda that's worthy of their support. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in at Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and see you soon.